Just leave it.
Entertain a motion to just accept our staff recommendations. Yeah. Yes. No, she's not coming. She's not coming. Welcome to the November 7th meeting of the Mobile City Planning Commission. I would like to take a moment to review our general operating procedures. Our meeting is divided into two sessions, the public hearing session and deliberation session. In the public hearing session, an application or group application on the agenda is called. The applicant makes his or her presentation. Commission members ask questions, if any. Members of the public make their comments. Only 4 people may speak for an agenda item or project and 4 against. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to state questions by the commission. After 4 minutes, a loud beep will indicate 1 minute left to speak, and at this point, please summarize your comments. After all opposition speakers have finished, the applicant will be given time to respond. If you do intend to speak, please come to the podium, speak into the microphone, and give your name and address for our minutes. Please direct all comments to the commission only and not to the applicant or the audience, and please remember to speak directly into the microphone. On routine applications, the applicant may simply raise his or her hand if there are no objections to staff recommendations. I will then announce that the applicant is in full agreement with those recommendations. If there are any questions, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. After hearing all applications, the commission will go into the deliberation session. In the deliberation session, the commissioners discuss each application with input from the staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. The commissioners then vote on each application, and the results of the voting can be learned from the planning department. If some issue arises in the deliberation session that were not addressed in the public hearing, the chairman has the discretion either to allow additional comments pertaining to those issues in order to resolve them, or call for the application to be held over for discussion at a future meeting. Occasionally, one or more commission members may recuse themselves from discussing and voting on a given application. A recusal does not necessarily mean the member is directly involved with the application or the applicant. Depending upon the circumstances, ethical rules may require a recusal when there is only the slightest appearance of a conflict of interest. If a regular member recuses, a supernumerary will vote in their stead unless both supernumeraries are already voting due to absences. The Planning Commission makes final decisions subject to appeal on subdivisions, planning approvals, plan unit developments, PUDs. The Planning Commission only makes recommendations on zoning applications, with the City Council making the final decision. Please turn off or silence all cell phones at this time. Commissioners and staff, please remember to turn on your microphones when speaking. Roll call, myself, Ms. Libby Latham. Here. Ms. Jennifer Denson. Here. Ms. Carla Blackwell.
Present.
Ms. Shirley Sessions. Here. Mr. Alan Cameron.
Here.
Mr. Matt Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Nick Omberger.
Here.
Mr. Don Embry.
Here.
Mr. Jay Stubbs.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll begin with item number 1 of extensions. The Arbors of Summerby Park Subdivision, Addition 2, seeking a 1-year extension that's recommended for approval. The applicant is present and in agreement. Is there anyone here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Thank you. Item number 2, north and east sides of Summerby, the Arbors, Summerby Park subdivision, request for a 1-year extension, recommended for approval. Applicant is present and in agreement with that recommendation. Is there anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Thank you. New subdivision applications. Item number 3, 3703 Old Shell Road, Chinaberry subdivision. It's recommended for tentative approval. Is the applicant present?
Jerry Bird, Bird Surveying Company. The owner applicant would like to hold this over first meeting in December. Give them time to meet with staff.
It's December 5th. Request to hold over to December 5th. Okay. A request has been asked to be held over December 5th. More than likely will be granted. Is there anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Thank you. Item number 4, 2350 and 2356 Airport Boulevard, Kenny Do subdivision, recommended for tentative approval. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with staff recommendations? Applicant is present and in agreement. Is there anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Thank you. Item number 5, 6890 Carroll Plantation Road, H&T subdivision, recommended for tentative approval. Applicant present.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the staff would like to revise the recommendation, specifically the condition number 2. We would like to revise that to require the 50-foot setback along Carroll Plantation Road. We still request the dedication along Highway 90.
So you want a 50-foot
It would simply
setback.
revise condition number 2. Yes, sir.
Is the applicant present? Are you?
Good afternoon, Scotty with Landing Property Group. I am the applicant, and we are good with staff recommendation.
Okay.
Anything else from me, do you?
Okay. Anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Item number 6, 3007 and 3309 South Georgia Avenue, Tecoland subdivision, recommended tentative approval. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with staff recommendations? Applicant is present and in agreement. Is there anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against? Thank you. New planning approval applications. 1954 Government Street, Downtown Hounds, LLC. Recommended for tentative approval. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with staff recommendations? Applicant is present and in agreement. Is there anyone else here to speak for this? Anyone here to speak against?
I just have some concerns. I live across the street from the,
Could you give your name and address for the record?
Vernon Coleman. I'm at 253 Rickerby Street, directly across from where it's going to be built at. And I just have some concerns about maybe with the the noise that it may bring? I understand there's going to be a dog walk around it?
There will just be a fenced-in area in the back, 6-foot fence, so that the dogs are able to go out during the day, some, but not like stay outside.
Okay.
So it would just be daytime, but there would always be employees out there with them. There will be a divided, fenced-in area inside the big fenced-in area where small dogs are separate from big dogs, and there'll just be small amounts of dogs at a time out there. But there will be, the building will be soundproof.
Okay, what about the parking?
There, it's going to be a drop-off situation. There will be 9 parking spaces, but it's in the front of the building. It won't be a river on the side.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Okay, that's all my concerns. I just wanted to know how it was going to be built and what the noise was going to be like. Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Vernon Coleman Sr. I live at 553 Rickaby Street in Mobile. And my concern is that I work with a group at TSAC, the Therapeutic Senior Activity Center at 561 Rickaby Street. And there are plenty of kids that are there that attend during the daytime that are autistic, and many of them have learning disabilities. And one of the things that they do at TSAC is to allow them to exit the building and go corner to the compact store. That way they can buy things and a lot of outdoor activities. And one of the things that they are afraid of is loud noises. And so if there's a dog walk outside and they hear those dogs barking, I'm afraid that some of them will react negatively to that. So if there's some way that they can suppress the noise coming out of that kennel, but particularly if it's operating during the daytime, and TSAC is open from about 6 in the morning till about 6 in the evening. And a lot during that time frame, they are allowed to exit out and come back in. But they are always chaperoned. They're always chaperoned. But there's a possibility that somebody, because of the noise, might break and injure themselves or injure somebody else. So I'm concerned that the noise factor is one of the things that we need to be most mindful of, and if we approve this thing. That with somewhere to regulate the noise, that I would be an approval, except the fact that it's right across the street from my son's house. Now, I spend a lot of time there. Okay.
Mr. Coleman, is where the TSAC is on the map in relation to where can you show me
Okay,
where it is in
on
relation
Rickaby Street,
to
it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th building now, there's 5. It's 261
Okay.
Rickaby Street.
Oh, it's still,
It's the old Woodcock School.
Woodcock, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
any questions by commissioners? Does the applicant have anything that they would like to say in regards to comments that were made?
I'm a retired teacher, so I understand
Get your
about
name and
children
can we have
with
your
sound.
name and your name?
I'm
and
Sean Walker, co-owner of Downtown Hounds, and I have children of my own, I have pets of my own, but I also have neighbors that have pets, and so I understand about issues with dogs barking and kind of things, and also with working with kids with autism and special needs. So I do understand that, and I understand his concern. However, that is a neighborhood, and I know that a lot of neighbors in that neighborhood have animals, and so at some point, their animals do go outside to go to the restroom. So I do know that there got to be a little bit of barking at different times with just the neighborhood. We will make all precautions to not have dogs barking. We will be having an indoor play area for the dogs for during the daycare, and also a soundproof building. The outside area is going to be a 6-foot fence, so no one will be able to see inside the outside area of the dogs. And we're also taking precautions with animals themselves having 2 different play areas. We will also make sure that our clients will have a free day to come in for us to evaluate the pets, to make sure they're not aggressive and that they're not obsessively barking. That way we'll be able to say, yes, your dog is able to come to our daycare, or no, your dog is not appropriate for our facility. I know that Camp Bow Wow in West Mobile does the same thing. They do an evaluation of your pet just to make sure that they're not going to cause an issue with other pets or with the facilities that they have the pets in. So we will do everything we can to eliminate the barking. You know, just like a teacher, I can't control a child from saying something or yelling out or screaming when they're outside on the playground as much as I cannot control a dog that may occasionally bark. But it would not be acceptable. They would not be outside for long periods of time. There would just be different times that they would go outside.
Ms. Walker, so this is a daycare, and I guess it's also a boarding facility long-term, I guess, as the
Yes.
family goes out?
We actually, that was a question I did have for y'all, and it does state in the staff minutes here that they recommended us not to have overnight boarding, and I wasn't quite sure why that decision was made. I looked at various veterinary clinics. 1 mile down the street, Luke Veterinary Clinic, who I have used before in the past for my pets, offer boarding, and they have a neighborhood right behind them, residential area. Also, Bel Air Animal Hospital at the Loop also has boarding. And there's a neighborhood behind them as well as Old Shoal Road Animal Hospital that's right next to UMS Wright School, also has boarding. We would like to be able to offer boarding to our clients that use us for daycare, and the reason being is because their pets are going to know us and be used to us, and so therefore, instead of picking up a pet on a Friday and having to find boarding somewhere else to go away for the weekend, they could use us, since their pets are familiar with us and we're familiar with them. So we like to offer that to our clients that are using our daycare facility.
We get staff to, I'm not sure which item that she's referring to. Is it 4?
Number 4? Correct. And the reason for that is there's not a lot of distance between this facility that could have up to 30 dogs to the residences right across the street. This is a minor residential street as opposed to a major street, and so that was the logic behind that recommendation.
Well, the question that I was trying to get an answer to before we got on this was, the dogs that are there, whether they're boarded during the day, or daycare, or overnight, they're going to be housed inside. They're not going to be
Yes.
housed in kennels outside.
No,
So the
no
only time
kennels
they'll
out,
be
no kennels
outside-
outside.
The only time they go outside is to,
It's just to go out for a little out-time play area, and that's it. Everything else will be inside.
okay. What are you doing to make the building soundproof?
I'm working with Steve Zito he did our site plan, and I'm working with him, and he said that he's got all the sound ordinances, and he'll make it to where it's soundproof. He's done that kind before, where he's hasn't necessarily done a dog daycare, but he's done some things with vets before. And
Is
he
the-
would have been here today, but he was out of
That's
town.
fine. Having the overnight accommodations, staff you're limited, you can't have that if we approve it as is. So is that going to impact your business model drastically to the point that you can't function as a business? if
Well,
it's-
it'll impact some of our income, definitely. And also some owners or some people may want to use a different daycare facility so that they can keep their pet on a Friday night if they want to drive to New Orleans or attend a Mardi Gras ball down here in Mobile. Instead of having to pick up their pet that Friday, they might pick them up Saturday. So I'm sure it will alter some people using our facility.
Do we have the purview to adjust that for inside kenneling overnight? I'm asking staff.
We could possibly put some type of restriction regarding when the dogs can be taken out, kind of to follow quiet hours in line with the city's noise ordinance. You know, 1 or 2 dogs going out to conduct their business usually is not very noisy, but if you have 5 to 10, it kind of turns into playtime, which becomes a barking sensation. So we could restrict when the dogs are allowed outside if they are boarded overnight.
I've checked with some other boarding, especially out in West Mobile and Animal Barn, and a lot of times their staff leaves at 6 in the evening, and they don't come back to the next morning. They may have one staff member come back for those dogs that can't make it through the night and may take out, so they're not taking a big group of dogs. They may be taking 1 or 2 pets out that maybe are puppies or just cannot wait till in the morning. I do know that we could do that as well.
How would we, what would be the suggestion of how that would be worded to accommodate for that? I mean, dogs are to be kept indoors after a certain time, or a certain number of dogs can't go out after a certain hour of the evening?
We can put that restriction on there. It'll be difficult to enforce if we receive any complaints, because we would have to monitor the situation.
Yeah.
I think that the simplest is to omit the fourth piece here about the overnight kenneling, and we just need to make it clear. We recently had another animal service facility here. I just need to make it clear to you that you're responsible for maintaining compliance with the noise ordinance.
Yes.
And I would like to tell Mr. Coleman and Mr. Coleman Jr. that if there are any noise complaints, you make those to the city. And we just recently had a situation over the last couple of years where the city discovered that animals, if they're at a business or if it's at somebody's home even, if they're violating the noise ordinance, whoever is in possession of them, well, they're responsible for it. So you let us know, and if there's a situation, a citation can be written, and hopefully that'll motivate people to keep the dogs quiet.
Question for the applicant. Can you identify on the site plan where your kennels outside will be and where the fence is going to be?
Yeah, there's no kenneling. There's just going to be an outside
Okay,
area.
fenced area?
So, yes, that right there. And there will be, on this, there will be a little chain link fence to divide that area, so that therefore we can put smaller dogs in one area and larger dogs in another.
And then your 6-foot fence, is that the
The
dark?
6-foot fence, there's an existing 6-foot fence all along here. It's an existing one, and then we'll put it at the back and then all along Rickerby there. And it's off street. You'll see trees right there that will go there as well.
Thanks.
Any other questions by commissioners? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
New group applications. Item number 8, West Bay Academy subdivision. It's recommended for holdover till the December 5th meeting. Applicant present. Are you in agreement with staff recommendation? Yes. Okay. Applicant's present and in agreement for this to be held over for the December 5th meeting. That will probably be granted. However, anyone here who wishes to speak for or against does have that opportunity at this time, but you will also get that opportunity at the December 5th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, going back to item number 7, I mean, we had 2 people speaking against it. Did we call to make sure there was no one else here to speak against that item?
I did before I asked for the.
Okay, I missed that part, sorry, thank you.
Okay. That concludes public deliberation session. We'll now enter into deliberation. Beginning with item number 1, extensions. The Armours at Summerby Park subdivision recommended for a 1-year extension. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The 1-year extension is granted. Item number 2, the Arbours at Summerby Park subdivision requesting a 1-year extension. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Extension is granted. New subdivision application, 3703 Old Shell Road, Chinaberry subdivision. Request to be held over to December 5th meeting. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item held over till December 5th meeting. Item number 4, 2350, 2356 Airport Boulevard, Kenny Do subdivision, recommended for tentative approval. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposes? Item passes. Item number 5, 6890 Carroll Plantation Road and 5898 US Highway 90 West, H&T subdivision, recommended for tentative approval with the note that item number 2 is revised for dedicated drive 50-foot setback from center line of Carroll Plantation Road. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposes? Item passes. Item number 6, 307 and 309 South Georgia Avenue, Tecaland subdivision, recommended for tentative approval. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposes? Item passes. New planning approval applications. Item number 7, 1954 Government Street, Downtown Hounds LLC. It's recommended for tentative approval. Is there a motion?
Move to approve based on staff recommendations, removing item 4 and based on findings of facts, A.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. New group applications. Item number 8, 1854 and 1568 Hertel Street, West Bay Academy subdivisions, recommended for holdover. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor for holdover till December 5th?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. That closes deliberation. Is there any business?
Just one follow-up for the commission. As you may recall from our last meeting, we've had several appeals, one of which was the McKimmey Place approval granted by the commission. The city council upheld the decision of the commission, so that is set to move forward.
No other business, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Carla.
Real quick did it.
I like those efficient meetings. Now I can go get some work done. Yeah, keep going. Keep going like that. December 5th.